Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Paul. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Blasting the shot. What a goal!
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're listening to this. This is your Wolves Bancast review show for the third round tie, Bristol City versus Wolverhampton Wanderers, brought to you in association with the Sports Social Podcast Network and FCquiz.app. I'm your host, Stu Foe, and joining you tonight we have Stu, Eddie, and Luke. Luke fresh from Tamworth today at the Tottenham game. I've got to ask you straight up, mate, how was it? The atmosphere, surely it was good. Surely it wasn't all day trippers.
No, the atmosphere was quite poor, to be fair. And that's no disrespect, because Tamworth fans are actually fantastic. Like I've been to all Tamworth FA Cup games, and especially Burton away. There was unbelievable. But the Tottenham fans today was terrible. You know, I've been there because they still brought. I think you get about 800. But it was terrible, absolutely terrible. And I know it's just like it's small fry to them, but you know, you'd at least expect to hear a little bit of atmosphere. But yeah, it wasn't great. Obviously, Tamworth have got the end on the side. That's like their main stand. Sort of that was underneath the cameras today, and they do give it a good go, to be fair. But I think it was full of day trippers like myself, so that probably didn't help things. But no, you know what? Fair play to Tamworth. They can hold their heads up really, really high. And I think the ref shafted them a little bit, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it was a good game, especially for the neutral watching at home. There was a lot going on, especially towards the last couple of minutes. There was some good chances in it, and if they'd have won it in 90 minutes, Tottenham, they'd have felt the shit off that for everyone for the rest of the time that they were ever a football club, because it's the ultimate embarrassment. And going extra time against a team like Tamworth is pretty poor for a Premier League side, even though Tamworth should take every ounce of credit that they deserve for that game.
Yeah, definitely.
But get straight into the game against Bristol City. We'd come off the back of I don't know whether you could call it an expected result, Stu, but sort of a poor loss against Forest. You know, it stood the chance of halting our momentum. So this game against Bristol was a bit of a banana skin. How did you feel sort of going into it?
Well, the Forest game, I wasn't overly mad at the end. I mean, it's the scoreline more than anything, isn't it? It wasn't a 3-0 game. We were in it for large parts, and obviously the third one makes it look worse than it was. But we just well and truly knew now, as the guy said afterwards. So I wasn't too downbeat, and it was almost like, well, we all know we don't really need this. We all know that we could play Luke Cundle and no one would really care. So when you look at that lineup, I think everyone was quite excited, quite raring to go. I mean, we'd already had 5 points at that point, so it was already going to be a good day out in the AM. So yeah, I mean, personally, I was really up for it, and it was just a shame that half the crowd in that away end wasn't.
Yeah, I think you talked about it already. As mentioned it, that starting 11. I mean, those watching on YouTube, there's a graphic going on there for the team that started. I mean, looking at that, Eddie, I mean, you've got obviously Agbadou, we could talk about in a minute, making his debut, but every player there is a first team squad player, isn't he? And he's got it there with the intent of getting through to the next round, surely.
Yeah, it's a very strong team with the players we had available, and I think he's acknowledged the momentum that he's built so far since coming in. He doesn't want to spoil that. Obviously, Forest aside, there's a good feeling around the club, and I think I'm sure he would assume that a win away in the FA Cup would keep that good feeling going, both for the players and the fans, keep that momentum going into a tough game on Wednesday away against Newcastle. And he didn't even rotate the players as much as I was expecting. We were there at half time thinking, we'll see a raft of changes, and nothing happened till 70 minutes. So so he's obviously he's put a strong team out, and we've got the result we wanted. And now you'll have seen, if you've been on social media, fever pitch amongst Wolves fans at the prospect of a trip to Ewood Park.
Yeah, and I think it's a fantastic draw and something, setting us up to go deeper into the competition. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit later. But Luke, looking at that starting 11, what was your thoughts? Because obviously we didn't know what to expect. Vita Pereira new to the side. We didn't know how seriously to take the competition. What was you thinking when you saw that about an hour before kickoff?
Yeah, it's just good to see that he's taking it seriously. I love a cup run. I'm all about the FA Cup. I'm all about the League Cup. I love a cup run. And you go away to these lower league teams, or team of division below, and there can be banana skins. Bristol City, they're not doing great. They're not doing terrible. But it's a tricky tie to overcome. But I felt we managed it well. Nice to see that the manager was taking it seriously. I thought there's some good performances on the day, both individually, in the units as a team. So it's nice, because nothing winds me up more than when you've got a cup tie. You look at the team; it's a weakened team. The gaffer's not taking it seriously. Me personally, I feel like it's a disrespect to the fans that travel, the fans that are watching at home, the fans that are listening on the radio. So for me, let's take it serious. Strong squad, strong team, good minutes for players. So all round, I was over the moon with it, to be fair. Really, really happy.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Is we need to build momentum still. I still think there's still a certain level of confidence that needs to be put into some of these players and players in and around the squad. So it's a good platform to build from. And I think the one player that I think has surprised a lot of us during Vita Pereira's tenure already is Matt Doherty, and a bit of a special day really for him yesterday, because it was 14 years ago this week, sort of since he made his debut for Wolves, and that was also in the FA Cup away at Doncaster Rovers. And he captained Wolves yesterday. I mean, it's a magical sort of like journey he's been on, and it's due. And I don't know, were you at the Doncaster game 14 years ago?
Yeah, of course.
So you'll remember that. I mean, what's your thoughts on Doherty? And I mean, he certainly had this rebirth, hasn't he, under Vita?
I mean, I've always been pro Doc anyway, even though all the Doherty stuff and everything that everyone slated him for bizarre reasons. When you look at his age, he's not going to be the player that he was before he left us last time. So he comes back and he's very much part of the squad. And I think we all called for, when we had this crisis the first time round and we had no defenders left, he seemed like the obvious choice to put there rather than Semedo. I mean, we all said that on here, and yet silly teabag thinks it's the other way around. And look what happens: rubbish. So he played Doherty. He played to his strengths. He's strong. He's good in the air. He's deceptively quick still for his age and his size. He just gets the job done, and especially, I mean, not necessarily against Man City. I mean, we might come up against, if he carries on like this and he carries on playing there. He didn't have, I mean, his mistake against Forest, case in point. But again, he's played in that position, 3 games? So he's learning as well, even at his age. But I couldn't be happier for him. He seemed, I mean, you only have to look at the Wolves media output as well, that he's front and centre of all that stuff, because he's a very dry sense of humour and the way he is around the place. And one of the few British and Irish that he's not one of the Portuguese speakers on the team. So you look at him, you think, yeah, okay, we've got someone who's effectively homegrown. He's been here the vast majority of his playing career. He's one of us, and it's great to see.
Yeah, it is. And I couldn't have put it any better myself. I mean, he's a player that we've seen in and out of this side for a long time now, Luke. And to look at a player, nobody had him sort of on their radars as being sort of taking on that captaincy role. I mean, Semedo's obviously injured, so he's the club captain, but having him essentially be a vice captain within this squad, it's a shock to the system, really, isn't it?
I'm going to say no, purely for some of the reasons that Stu mentioned earlier. You know, he's got the experience. He's been around the club. How many out? About 12 out of those 14 years, something like that. But I'll hold my hands up. I am Matt Doherty. You know, there's times that he's infuriated me, and I still remember in my head that goal we conceded against Bristol City midweek. It's about 10, 12 years ago now, but jogging back winds me up, and I'll never let it go. But what I will say is, you know, since he's coming to this team under Pereira, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's not put a foot wrong, and like Stu mentioned, his strength and capabilities aerially in the air is fantastic, both defensively and in attack. He's proving now that he can play multiple positions as well. So, can he play right wing back? Yes. Can he play on the right side of a back three? Yes. Could he play right back if he went to a back four? Yes. I mean, would you even trust him centre of a two central defensive partnership? Potentially, because he's got the tactical nous. His positioning is not terrible. So, do you know what? Fair play to him, because I have been in the Matt Doherty camp, but I'm not afraid to hold my hands up and say when somebody deserves their flowers. And right now, Matt Doherty deserves his flowers. And going back to the captaincy, Stu touched on it earlier, sort of off the pitch as well. He's fantastic. You know, regardless of what you think about him on the pitch, he's a good lad. Like he's funny. He's a good laugh. The players look up to him. You know, he's got some good relationships, and this isn't just with this group. I think like he had a really special friendship with Afobe, didn't he? And that group there and that era. So he's always been a big influence in the dressing room, and that's important, especially to the younger players as well. So do you know what? Long live Matt Doherty for now.
I didn't expect that. I picked you to talk about it because I know you're quite polar opposite, and I think the fact that we get to the same point speaks absolute mountains.
I just think, regardless of what you think about him, his performances, you can't badmouth him at this moment in time, because thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. I'll give you that tenner later, but his performances have been solid. He's been doing a job. He brings an element of maturity to the team as well. And like I said, I have been in the past, I'm not going to say a hater of Matt Doherty, but, you know, he's not one who I've thought, I hope Doherty's starting today or any of that nonsense. But at this moment in time, you know, you're looking at Doherty's performances, and you even look at Lima's performance. I mean, his little cameo against Bristol City, I thought he had a good game against Nottingham Forest. Semedo doesn't automatically come back into this team. And that's good. No, healthy competition.
It's good. And to see these other players come in and to play at a level when they've been out of the side is something special. The way we started the game, it's not really a surprise that we started on the front foot, Eddie. I mean, it's something that we've done even under the previous management. We've started games where we attack sides and try to create chances. But the nature in which both fullbacks were involved in build-up and Aït-Nouri's first chance, which he probably should have scored, and then his eventual goal. I mean, he's somebody who's crucial to this side, isn't he, in terms of creating and goals?
No, definitely. He's been brilliant for us. And I'll very, very quickly, just as a callback to Doherty, just to mention, you know, for me, just to quickly say, over 300 appearances for the club, you know, signed on a free transfer, and he's only 32. I'm just going to say that. I'm not saying he's Virgil van Dijk, but if you ask someone, a football fan, who's the best centre-back in the world right now, they might say Virgil van Dijk, who is 1 year older than Matt Doherty. So I'm just going to say, look, he's only 32. Let's not write him off yet. He's got over 300 appearances for the club, and he's a Wolves legend. But yeah, no, brilliant for the fullbacks, and it was great, to be fair, for the Wolves fans, because we were sitting watching that attack, watching the opening 20 minutes of the 30 minutes of the first half was just brilliant, and I loved seeing Rodrigo Gomez. I mean, I know we were talking about Aït-Nouri, but it's so brilliant seeing Rodrigo Gomez flying down the wing, just with freedom, with creativity, with pace, with energy. And he's such a nice, just seems like such a nice bloke as well, just such a nice lad. And I'm just so pleased that he's got this opportunity and he's really, shining in that role. And I'll just mention as well that Guedes and him seem to be linking up really well as well in that first half an hour. And the amount of very nicely weighted balls from Guedes to release Rodrigo running down the right flank was brilliant as well. So, yeah, I mean, we talk about flying fullbacks and unlocking the potential of the wings, and you saw, yesterday just how wide they both were. We were so wide, and it was brilliant. I mean, it reminded me, a little bit of Nuno, and go back again to Doherty and Johnny in their prime. Instrumental, a huge part of that team for us. 2018, 2019, the FA Cup semi-final, Europa League quarter-final. So, yeah, it's brilliant to see a manager embracing those flying fullbacks and to see them being played with a bit more freedom.
Yeah, it's amazing what backups and players who are not good enough for the first team can do, isn't it, really? It's amazing.
No, that's essentially what I want to say, Stu, is like Rodrigo Gomez, I think you said beautifully there, Eddie, of talking about him in his levels. We all know that he was somebody who wasn't trusted by Gary O'Neill. And every game that passes, Stu, every bit of good that O'Neill did at the football club, he's unravelling him. But he isn't even at the club anymore, but he's unravelling his own legacy of the good stuff that he did.
I mean, I was watching Tamworth today, like everyone else in the world seemed to be, and they were more defensively organised than Wolves were. And Gary O'Neill, the fool that he is, told us that we couldn't compete against Premier League opposition, that they wouldn't listen to him. Yet you've got plumbers and people who make zips for a living marking Spurs players at the game. And you think, yeah, it's not fucking hard, is he? He's just an idiot. He's just a useless manager. He might be a good coach. Fair play. We've already talked about this. But like you just said, every week that goes by, these players that he bummed out, the fact that he didn't even play Andre, for fuck's sake. What's wrong with him? The guy came here, one player of the month, and then was benched. And then almost forced into a midfield three, which two of them can't play. And then we got Rodrigo Gomez, who wasn't trusted because he was bought as a backup, apparently. Stupid. The other Forbes, yeah, because Forbes isn't a footballer. We've talked about this before. But he's not going to get another Premier League job. The more weeks that this goes on, the organisation and the fact that the guy's got. We haven't even talked about Agba yet, but you look at the players that are here and have been here all season long. The man's a fool, and he's been proved to be a fool, and we're now benefiting from having a proper manager in place.
Yeah, can't argue with anything you just said there, Stu. And I think you led me quite nicely on the next person I wanted to talk about was Agba, and he had quite a good solid debut, didn't he, Luke? And he looked comfortable on the ball and somebody that should fit in well with what Vita Pereira wants to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he'll be a good signing. He looks solid. He looks quick. His positioning's good. The only negative that I would pick up on from yesterday was just a couple of his diags, a couple of his crossfield passes were just a bit inaccurate. I think there might have been two in the whole game, but apart from that, I don't really think he put a foot wrong. And again, we'll highlight our frailties on defending set pieces that we had under O'Neill. You'd like to think that a player of his stature will support us with that, and hopefully on attacking set pieces as well. But no, I think it's a good piece of business. But then again, I say it's a good piece of business. I don't know how much we signed him for.
Yeah, about 18 million euros. I think around that region.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's somebody who's in their prime. So it's if he comes in, he plays every game. It's not bad business for a Premier League side to spend that sort of money.
No, and it's an area that we need to improve on anyway. you know, with all due respect to Totti Gomez, who I actually like, you'd probably like Totti to be more of a squad player than a starter getting 90 minutes week in, week out. And I mean that respectfully because I don't think he's a bad player at all. Dawson, again, with respect, he's aging, his legs are going. You know, I feel really bad speaking about Dawson in this way, but at the same time, it's fucking true. You know, we're not going to get too much football left out of Dawson, so he's going to need replacing as well. But I need to big up one player, Santiago Bueno, man. I think the last couple of games he's been absolutely fantastic.
Again,
Absolutely brilliant.
Played in the middle where he played before. It's almost like it's magical. You give these players responsibility, play them where they're comfortable. When I know Agba played a position for him, and you could see that at times because he's so right-footed. It's unbelievable. But case in point, Santi Bueno in the middle is a revelation.
It's so good.
And you look at it and you think, well, yeah, he was part of that team that qualified for the Champions League, playing in the middle, not out wide, not doing stuff that he can't do, playing as a central defender. And he's right. If we got them two, and you got Doherty in the form of his life in an alien position for him, I mean, it's bad because silly Jeff's going to be thinking, oh, we don't need to spend any money now. But they look solid already.
Yeah. And it's just tantamount to the work that's been done already, isn't it?
If you can see the difference with Bueno moving into the middle. Even the previous games, we've looked so much more solid and organised defensively. And like Stu said, it's not rocket science, but the problem that we have in football in general with some coaches is they try to overcomplicate the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think O'Neill is of that ilk where he thinks too much into it. He overcomplicates it. I know he gets sidetracked with the amount of cups of tea that he has to make every day and how well he's doing on Candy Crush on the iPad. But when he's thinking about football, when he's got a bit of spare time to think about football and coaching, he's just thinking too much into it, playing players out of position. I mean, how can you say Rodrigo Gomez is just a backup and isn't ready? And he watches him play football every day.
The same could be said about Pedro Lima as well. He gets his first start in the Premier League under Vita Pereira. Didn't get a start under Gary O'Neill. We consider qualities, and I think you put it well then, Luke, when you say he overcomplicating things. Essentially, football hasn't changed that much in the last 20 years. The only real evolutions that you've got are sort of the tiki-taka one under Pep Guardiola. The formations are still the same. The ideas are still the same. You still pass the ball. You still put it in the back of the net. You put the players who have the right attributes in the right position. It's not complicated.
Is that true? Sorry, Thomas Charles. O'Neill wasn't watching them every day, though. They only trained 3 days a week.
Yeah, they were only training 3 times a week. Yeah.
We've
heard this from several different people now.
Yeah.
Oh,
and again,
my God.
Tamworth trained twice a week. Part-time. That's why he sold his house. He was commuting every day because not even every day, but when he could be bothered.
How can you be allowed to get away with that at a Premier League level? Yeah, Gaffer. Yeah, we're just going to have him in 3 times this week and for the next 51 weeks. What? What sort of lunacy is that?
This is what I've said before when they say, "Oh yeah, everyone loves him." Yeah, because they're not doing anything. It is like obviously they were there at the training ground every day, and it's more a case of it's like running around and playing with your friends, like having a kick about over goals.
Not when they're playing that game with the head tennis sort of thing in that little corner.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's like sixth form, man.
It's scary.
In the common room and play ping pong.
Yeah, it's sixth form.
But you know what? That's disgusted me actually. That has.
But you know when you mentioned about tiki taka, I mean, there is a strange episode for swallowing your pride because look again, Sam Johnston comes in yesterday. He's not asked to do stupid things, and he plays his game, and it's his pitch perfect ball up to Strand Larsen that leads to the second goal. His kicking yesterday was exceptional.
Mhm.
I don't think he would have got to the free kick anyway, even if he did look a bit further to one side than the other. It was a decent free kick. I'm not going to be too harsh on him. But that aside, I thought he was great yesterday. And it's probably his best game for us. It's just that Sar's going to come back in on Wednesday anyway, like we all know he is. But again, he's another one who looked like an absolute joke. And yeah, I know I wouldn't have him as first choice, but still, he looked composed yesterday, and he looked like a Premier League goalkeeper and not a joke.
No, I can't disagree with that. I mean, it's one of those. He's got to come in and do a job. I personally still feel a bit annoyed about Dan Bentley not getting the game if Johnston is going to leave in January, because you'd rather give minutes to people who are going to be with your side long term. The only thing I wanted to touch on as well, coming to you, Eddie, is sort of, okay, players have been given a chance. Say Cunha's out injured, Huang's been starting games. Some players have took the chance, where Rodrigo Gomez, your Pedro Limas. Channy's really not taking his side, he's spelling the side well, has he?
Yeah, I mean, he was poor yesterday. He was probably our worst player with the sort of reasonably disappointing performances from Bellegarde and Sarabia off the bench, who offered nothing. Yeah, we should have put the game to bed, and Huang had sort of two sort of gold chances that you just think, and it's fair to mention as well, there was a bit of negativity after the game on social media. There's a few grumblings about the result and how we played, and I was there, and I think it was we got the job done. We were scintillating for half an hour. We should have gone into the break, 4-0 up. Their free kick, it was a great free kick. Yeah, I'm not sure Bentley would have kept it out, possibly. It was a really good free kick, to be fair. But it was such a soft one. The ref, just to mention as well, was awful yesterday. I mean, he just was giving them every shoulder to shoulder that they would go down, and he was giving them a free kick. And we had the linesman, both linesmen, at least on 2 occasions, overrule him. The ref was there trying to give something, and the linesman was like, "Just calm down, no." And just telling the ref, "Look, stop giving these cheap fouls to Bristol City." It's a shame about Huang, because in the summer we obviously had a £25 million offer for him from Marseille, and you bite their hand off for that in January. He's halved his value based on his performance this season, which is really sad, because last year he was one of the shining lights. So I don't know what's happened to him. I don't know where his head's gone. I don't know if it's in the summer about the transfer rumblings. I know he's never the same after he went to play that cup in Korea, was he? Yeah, it's a really disappointing for him, and disappointing for us as well, because he was one of our better players, and he's just lost. He was always someone that offered you that composure, that was cool in front of goal, and some of his finishes, he'd take that touch, he'd just make himself a space, and he'd just slot it in the corner, and he scored some brilliant goals for Wolves, but just lacking that confidence, just snapping at their chances a little bit. And yeah, we really need in the window in January. We need another striker. We could do with another wide player. We need goals from somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I was going to say, it's weird with him, because he obviously came as a wide forward and he was never through the middle. But it's almost like he played through the middle for the majority of the time here before he went to that Asia Cup thing. And then he's come back and he's been forced out wide again. And Klinsmann ruined him. We know he did. But he's ruined a lot of players and his own career over there. But I will say with Huang, at least he was putting himself in the position again. At least he was getting there. And at least he was there to miss the chances, especially the second one after he fluffed the first one so badly. In the past, he especially would go hiding and you wouldn't see him for the rest of the game. And you look at the goal against Spurs and you think, okay, fine, he's got his composure back. And then 2-3 weeks later, he goes and plays like he did yesterday. He's an enigma, but because he's obviously got talent. We've seen it through his whole time here. But when he's bad, he's fucking awful, and he's worse than everyone else on the pitch, because he doesn't offer you anything else other than a goal scoring when he's in that kind of form. So what do you do with him? You either play him through the middle as backup to Strand Larson. He's never going to get ahead of him, is he? So for me, I'd leave him there, and I'd get another wide forward in to replace him there, because, like Eddie just said, Bellegarde's he's not a wide forward anyway. Who knows what he even is? Maybe he's an 8, a frustrated 8 in a system we don't play with, that kind of thing. And Forbes isn't ready if he ever will be. Sarabia's obviously off, and he's too old anyway, and he's never had the pace for this league. So I think if we were looking at transfer targets, that's where my first priority would be. I mean, we might even see Rodrigo Gomez in a front three when Semedo comes back to rotate with Guedes. You never know.
Yeah.
But all of them are a better option than Hwang at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm. And just in general, Luke, I mean, that's the negative thing to come out of the game yesterday, is that on the bench, we're kind of light. I mean, we haven't got an out-and-out striker to replace Strand Larson, so God help us if he got injured. You know, what's your take on sort of the squad and the sort of players that we should be targeting in January? I mean, a forward has to be there, doesn't it?
Yeah, because, I mean, if touchwood doesn't happen, but, you know, if Strand Larson picks up a knock and he misses a couple of games, then we're really, really struggling. Squad-wise, I think Stu's hit the nail on the head, really. we do need a couple of forward players, one through the middle, one out wide, couple of centre-backs. And I think that would do us, to be fair. I really do think that would do us. And then, obviously, you'll see the squad thickening out because you've got players like Hwang, Totti Gomez, Pedro Lima, who's now could be considered a strong option off the bench now. He's got minutes, good minutes as well under his belt. So it's not like we're in a position where we need to rip up the squad and start again. We just need to be tactile in who we bring in. And then obviously balance that with what we are going to lose as well. Because, like we've already mentioned, Johnson's probably going to go in January, isn't he? Sarabia's half out the door. Lamina is 3/4 of the way out the door. I mean, me personally, I don't know whether I'd give him till the summer. I'd potentially be looking to shift Hwang now. I just don't. He's too inconsistent. And like Stu mentioned, when he's poor, he may as well not be on the pitch. And obviously Kuna's back from his suspension. So for me, Guedes is there. You know, he's been absolutely fantastic since Pereira's taken over. That's not Guedes. That's playing. It's simply not Guedes who's playing. It can't be, because he's trying too hard. But yeah, I mean, we're not a million miles away. I mean, I said even when Gary O'Neill was in charge, and we've sort of bottom bar Southampton. For me, it's a mid-table squad anyway.
Yeah,
you know, you can't tell me we're a million miles off the likes of Brentford and Bournemouth and teams who are around that area. So I think that we've got a good squad anyway, and the depth is decent. Yes, we had a couple of young lads on the bench yesterday, but that's because Kuna suspended. There's a couple of injuries as well, so that can't really be helped. But again, you know, we're not a million miles away. So I think 3 or 4 in Jan, we're good to go.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think we're in a good position. I mean, even going back to like the pre-season in the US, and everything seemed to line up quite well. I mean, the double pivot that we had going there, that looked like the way to go. And for some reason, the rulebook kind of got torn up. And I think that was mainly down to some of the signings that were brought in at the time. But it seems like we're on the right way now. Yesterday, he was saying, because I know you're perfect person to talk about this, because it's a kit sort of talking point as well. So it was the second time under Vita Pereira where we've gone all gold. Mikey Burrows says they might divide opinion. I don't think there's a division on opinion. I think going forward next season, maybe we should be looking at this all gold, shouldn't we? Because it looks good, and we seem to win in it.
It's very popular. It's got a lot of fans. Definitely. There's a one of my friends on Instagram, Jimmy Taylor. I don't know if he's listening. Shout out Jimmy. He loves it. He just every other story is just an old photo of a Doritos all gold or Yalmatinho in all gold. Yeah, there is something about it, and I think we enjoy it as well as a bit of a rarity. I don't know. I think the purists, I think the old fans, the legacy fans, 70s fans. I mean, I got this book here by Steve Plant, R.I.P., Old Gold and Black. And I think for a lot of fans, you know, for a lot of the older fans, they want to see, they'd rather see a return of old gold because what we're playing in at the moment is still pretty yellow. Let's be honest. We're still a kind of little bit of a kind of Norwich impersonation with the colour we're going for. I think if you ask the fans, would you rather we were in all yellow or would you rather we were in old gold and black? I think they'd probably go for the latter. But it's nice to see, and it's nice to see a change. And you know, a bit of a shame though. I will point out because we saw Aston Villa wearing their 100 and whatever it was 30-year anniversary kit, and obviously you know Sudu and Wolves have just released the Hobved Heroes 70-year anniversary. You know, whether you like that shirt, whether you don't like that shirt, whether you think it's the wrong time to try and release a £125 shirt, a cash grab that Wolves are still sitting on hundreds of boxes of limited edition. That is quite a long way from selling out the 2,000 or 1,954 boxes they made. Maybe you think that was the right decision or the wrong decision. Why didn't we put that out? You know, we see Arsenal in their you know no more knife crime kit. Why weren't Wolves wearing the Hobved shirt? Yesterday was that just an organisational thing? Has someone just not called the FA in time to book that in? Because that would have been nice. And they certainly would have shifted a few boxes then. I think I would have bought one, you know, if it had won that, if it had played in that kit. But yeah, no, I'm an old gold and black fan, really. I love seeing us in the all gold, but just as a bit of a novelty, not for all season.
I'm going to say, now I know I'm with some kit connoisseurs on this podcast tonight, so I'm going to be careful with my words. But with the what are they called? Like memorial? They're not memorial kits, are they?
No one died.
Celebrate. So probably making them as well.
Anniversary.
That's the one, anniversary. With these anniversary kits, yeah, for me, just fuck them all off. But I don't mean in the like, yeah, if you want to sell them to the fans. But me personally, I don't think the first team should be wearing them.
I mean, there's probably a good reason. I mean, Prodigy said that that shirt was not cleared by the FA or the Premier League at least, the shiny gold one. And as someone who owns it and has worn it, it feels like you're going to set yourself on fire because it's not designed to be run around in at all. If they made a player's version, obviously that would be different. But that one is, you know, when you used to watch Heartbeat on a Sunday night and you used to sit in front of the fire to warm up after you'd had your weekly bath. And you used to have them jammers on that your mom every week used to say, remember, don't sit too close to the fire because you'll go up. It never happened, but it was always a threat. That thing is so, I mean, the static from it is, I mean, it might make my hair grow back. Maybe it's got a use, who knows? But you can't play football in that thing. It's impossible. But that doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't have made a version of it that allows you to play football in it. Because when it comes to our 150-year anniversary, are we going to have something? Are we going to play in red and white stripes? Are they going to have the bollocks to do it? Probably not. But I wouldn't put it past them to sell it though, because that's what they do. And as someone who's been a connoisseur and an advocate of this all gold thing for the last 5-6 years on it. When they showed the gold shorts in the summer, I got very excited. And Ethan, both sons have got gold shorts as well. They didn't want the black shorts; they wanted the gold shorts.
They didn't want the black shorts, or
no,
didn't want them to have the black shorts.
No, And if we've been down with the kids, and this is what the kids want, give them all gold just for 1 year. Just see what happens.
I'll be honest, my lad's the same. He says that we look better in all gold.
Exactly. See, we might be old, but we know where we are.
Fantastic.
But like Eddie mentioned earlier, for me as well, we're too yellow.
Yeah,
But,
no, I think the colour match is definitely off.
Yeah, like what Eddie's got on his shirt there, that's Wolves colours for me.
Well, a little bit different this one with the kind of blue, but certainly it's more gold.
Oh, sorry, no, the sleeve. Yeah, sorry,
the sleeve. Yeah, definitely. And this kind of the 96 behind me, but then I've also got what most fans would say is old gold. It's the kind of the wool shirts of the Umbro era, which we have, to be fair, tried to bring back in our promotion season 2017, 2018, when the last time we really wore old gold. And you can make a case for 2019 as well, when we were mixing it up around Europe in the Europa League. We were wearing an old gold-ish shirt then as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a nice one. That was the FX bet, was it? That one, or
the Man Bet X.
Man Bet.
Yeah, terrible. That's what ruined it, really, which was why it was so nice to see us wearing the foundation sponsor in Europe. That looked brilliant.
Oh, for sure. Obviously, through to the fourth round, the draw took place after the Man United Arsenal play out, or whatever. We went to penalties and whatever happened there with those. So, if you don't know already, Wolves have got Blackburn Rovers away in the fourth round.
If you don't want to know, look away now. That's what you should have said.
Yeah. If you don't want to know who everyone's got, change the channel. No, don't change the channel. But Wolves obviously going away to Ewood Park. It's one of these quite enjoyable fixtures, Stu, really, because looking at it, it's an old classic ground, old classic football club. It should be a fun away day.
It should, if they don't mess us about and put us on a Thursday. If they leave it on, if Saturday 3 o'clock's the dream, obviously. But how many were there this weekend? About 5. Yeah, not many. No neutral here or worldwide wants to watch Blackburn Wolves. Let's just put this into the ether now. No one wants it. Let us go there. Let's take 5,000-6,000 people there, all get absolutely trolleyed and have a great old time. Because that's what Blackburn away is, and it always has been. If they put this to a Friday night, it's going to be awful. If they put it to Sunday at 12, it's going to be awful. But you keep it at prime time or 5:30 on a Saturday. That would be actually quite terrifying for the old liver. But give us a proper date, a proper time. Leave us alone. Just this once. Just let us have our fun. If we can't go to nice places like Exeter or Wickham, where I've never been, then at least let us have a 3 o'clock kickoff against Blackburn away, please.
It's got potential, ain't it, Blackburn away?
It really has, and to get to the fifth round, I think would be great, wouldn't it, Luke? I mean, looking at it, you think the further you go, you've got quite a sizable squad. If you had a couple of more in January, it just keeps everyone ticking over nicely, doesn't it? And these fringe players, it keeps them ready for if you do have issues in the Premier League with injuries. So it has its uses, doesn't it? A cup run.
Yeah. Sorry, so are we in the last? Is it the last 32 now?
Looks like it could
last 32. So fingers crossed we can dispatch of Blackburn. Then you're in the last 16, and when you look at the ties, you could then in the last 16 be getting the winner of Stoke v Cardiff, Southampton v Burnley. You'd probably take both of those. Mansfield or Wigan v Fulham. Get Fulham down the Molyneux. You'd like to think we can turn them over. Coventry v Ipswich. Preston or Charlton v Wickham. So, there's a good possibility that if we can get past Blackburn, we can then be looking at a favourable tie in the last 16. Then you're in a quarter-final. And as soon as the word final is attached to a cup tie, even if it's got semi or quarter before it, for me, that's the business end of the cup. And when I say, because I've said it on the podcast probably 75,000 times over the last 10 or 15 years, just give us a cup run. Now, for me, what constitutes as a cup run is reaching the quarterfinals.
I'll just shout out Kishan Singh in the chat as well, just to mention that as he rightly says, several All-Prem 4th round ties. And look at it. I mean, I didn't even think about that when I was looking at it before. Yeah, there's so many, aren't there? Villa, Spurs, that's a juicy one. Everton, Bournemouth, Brighton, Chelsea. So, it's a great tie for us. Lots of Wolves fans will be making that trip. And then, where to next? I mean, who's your dream 5th round? I mean, I personally love for many reasons to see Exeter City beat Notts Forest, and then for a trip down to Exeter City. I've lived in Bristol for 20 years, but I was born in Exeter, so it'd be brilliant to go back to my hometown and see Wolves down there. And I mean, I brought with me behind me a couple of mementos from previous cup runs. This jacket right here is Don Goodman's actual jacket taken off his back after the semi-final defeat in '98 against Arsenal at Villa Park, when I was sitting there right in the corner, just getting right in the bottom corner, pitch side with my dad. I was 13 years old, 12 years old, just getting rained upon. And obviously, we started with Goodman, we benched Keane, we benched Bully, we had Seggers in goal, and we lost 1-0. But there's a lot of nostalgia there. There's a lot of fun memories. And I brought the away shirt, not the shirt from the actual game, but just the squad signed shirt from that team that got to Wembley in 2019, where we lost to Watford from being 2-0 up. mainly thanks to Nuno's substitutions, but still, a brilliant team, and it was a gutting day. And Andy in the comments is mentioning Coventry, which the quarter final last year where I was there again, and and that was somehow worse than the other two, the nature in which that went away. And yet there is something, like Luke was saying, about a cup run. I was born in 1985. We won the Sherpa Van Trophy in '88. But this shirt was the last shirt we wore when we won proper cup, when we won the League Cup in 1980, when we were wearing the Umbro shirt. So I think everyone really in this chat and everyone at home would just love to see a cup run. I would love to see, imagine making the final. It could happen with Vitor, with the squad that we've got, with the ties. As you say, as Kishan pointed out, lots of Premier League teams going out. Why not? Why not Wolves this year?
I think as well, a cup run can really transform your season. So, this season isn't going to be great from a league point of view, because even if we went on a fantastic run, what's the best we're going to finish? Even with a fantastic, unbelievable run, probably 14th, 13th. Chances are we're going to be in a relegation fight until the dying embers of the season. But a cup run, it can help to distract from the shit that we've had to deal with for the first 4 months of the season. The dogfights that we're going to be in over the coming months, and the shit VAR decisions that we're going to get given over the coming months. Losing games that we'd like to think that we should be winning. Obviously there's going to be some more good wins along the way, hopefully. But a cup run, it can. Let's say we finish the season 16th. But if you add in a cup semi-final with that, it completely changes the dynamics of the season.
I mean, cup run, yeah. Until we're actually in a final, I'm never going to believe it ever again. It's too many times. It's too many times. I like just seeing Christopher Wray's son today pop up for Tamworth. Even that pissed me off. Just as I remember, what was Steve Sedgley doing? Why was Sagers giving him the ball there? Again, it's just memories are being deflated all the time. So until it actually happens, no, just no. But that doesn't mean to say we can't. I mean, you look at when Matterface in his genius was listing off the winners, and you think, it's all normally the big five, not Spurs. But you look at it, Wigan, Portsmouth, Leicester.
Ali's got to the final couple, probably about 10 years ago now, wasn't he?
Millwall got to the final. Yeah, they got spanked by Man United, but still, everyone has their time. We never have our time because we cursed, but still, curses can't last forever, surely. So, I mean, it's one of them, and that whole the annual question came up, didn't it? Would you win? Would you get relegated and win the FA Cup? I mean, I'd get relegated down to the National League if we won the FA Cup. I wouldn't care less. It'd be life done, life complete. I just want to see us win something before I die. I'm 41 years old, so every year creep closer and closer. You think, oh, it's never going to happen, is it? I wouldn't care. I couldn't care less if we won a cup of any note, not any silly pre-season tournament, a proper cup. Yeah, it wouldn't get any better than that.
Even a League Cup. Now I know the League Cup's been
exactly.
watered down massively, but imagine seeing Wolves lifting that cup at Wembley. It, like you said, Stu, it would be life complete.
I mean, we haven't been in a FA Cup final since 1960. That's when we won it. How many semi-finals in that time? Is it 5, 6, 7, something like that? Failures. So we're a bit overdue one. And you just know, for the people who have to struggle along and watch this on telly, Dave Whelan's broken legs could be mentioned because we're playing Blackburn. And that bloke's made a whole career out of that stat. But, yeah. When you look at Andy Pearce in the comments there, he's 59. We hate everyone in the Premier League, and we're not winning the Premier League. So why not go for the cup and hope?
Yeah, I think.
And then look at the windows. The windows of opportunity. Winning a cup opens up as well. You know, we could still finish 16th, 17th, but we'd be in Europe next season.
Yep, and it sets you up going into Vita Pereira's first full season as a Wolves manager that you can attract the right players, you can bring the right philosophy into it, and people want to buy into it. And that's the thing, is we've lost a lot of that in the last couple of years, where we've lost this sort of buying power of having a project, and people don't know where Wolves are going. You know, the path's been obstructed. You know, when we got promoted, we could see, okay, we're pushing. We achieved more than what we should have done, but you could see, okay, they want to go up the league, they want to challenge in trophies, they want to challenge deep into cup competitions. That whole pathway got clouded, and now we can see, or what we want to see, is that come back and to have something that we can be proud of. Because all the things that you guys have said, you know, we want to be able to be successful. I want to say, I support a club that's won the FA Cup, or you know, in the last few years. It's something to really be proud of, because the top six has a monopoly on this.
Yeah,
and to be a fan, you know, of a side who's won it outside of there is something to really, really be proud of. And the fact that in recent years we've only really got Leicester and who've done well in the competition, and Birmingham when they beat Arsenal in recent times, and Wigan doing well. There ain't many you can think of at the top of your head. It's so frustrating, but it's the step in the right direction, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was just going to say about the frustration levels. I don't know if anyone heard Natalie Sawyer on TalkSport today, but she was absolutely pissed off at Brentford pretty much throwing their FA Cup away to lose to Plymouth at home. And you think they're absolutely safe? They ain't going down.
Yeah,
they ain't gonna qualify for Europe. So what is it about being Brentford? What's the point? Like, you're the Brentford, Bournemouth, the kind of perfect team, small team to go for an FA Cup. Why not? Yet you've got Thomas Wank doing what he did, and now they're out the cup for no reason at all, other than arrogance.
It's so frustrating. But another thing that is frustrating about being a Wolves fan is you can beat Bristol City 2-1 in the third round, and the day after you're dreaming of reaching FA Cup finals. It's just
magical, isn't it? It's magical being a Wolves fan.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of the cup, though. You know, it just pisses me off that, and I'm not even going to say teams anymore, because the FA are complicit in this. But they don't take the competition seriously enough, and they don't give it the respect it deserves. Because it deserves a damn sight more respect from players, managers, fans, the Football Association than it currently gets. And I think it's a disgrace.
Yeah, and I think clubs like Brentford should really, you know, show some respect to their fans, and football terrorists like Thomas Frank, you know, the way that he treats competitions and cup competitions is a fucking disgrace. And
it is. And
these fans, they want to see teams play, and it gives an opportunity for for a club to develop young talent and to bring through players from your own academy and to see them playing in their own shirt, it gives pride to people who support football clubs to see clubs bring through players from academies and to have ones you can sing about as your own, and to throw that away because you don't want to be part of a club competition. And I don't want to focus on Brentford because there's 1,000 of the clubs across the world who do it in different leagues and different, but it's pathetic. And to not want to compete shows that you have no self-respect and no backbone, and to not want to do it is absolutely disgraceful.
When Nuno did it in the lockdown year against Southampton, and he threw the game in the FA Cup and then put the strongest team out in the league against them, and you think, why? Just why? Especially that year when we had nothing to play for, really. It was a disgrace. And it looks, I mean, in our situation, you could understand if we'd have gone that way yesterday, and I don't think many people would have complained. But now he's made a rod for himself now that, we went strong at Bristol City away. We've now got to go strong at Blackburn away as well and keep it going.
Yeah.
And if you're still losing, you still spurs it up and you get almost humiliated, then fine. But at least give it a go. That's all we ask.
Yeah, you can't knock them if they put the right side out and they give everything. No one can ever take that away from you. But if you leave questions unanswered on the table, that'll always stay with you for the rest of your career. I want to sort of wrap up quite nicely now. I'll come around. I want to ask you who you think shined yesterday. Who was your player of the match? I'll come to you first, Stu.
Two really. I thought you really have to go on Twitter and look at the reactions of Bristol City fans talking about Andre and like how Wolves, and look where we were competing with them 6 years ago, and look at them now, and they got players like him. And I thought, he's been away, flying from the other side of the world again, and he's come back, slotted in like he's never been away. Him and João Gomez are something special. And João Gomez dancing to his little song at the end was quite funny as well. But you can't look past Rodrigo Gomez. He was incredible. And for someone we've already talked about it, to be ostracised like he was, to not be given a chance, to now be believed in and to be given the responsibility and to play like he does. And you expect the energy and you expect the youthful exuberance and that kind of thing. But the maturity on the ball and the fact that he's not just a headless chicken, he does it with his head down. He's looking up all the time. And he's almost like Pedro Neto with knees. And he was superb yesterday. So,
How about you, Luke? We might be all on the same wavelength here, but who stood out for you?
I'm going to go for a double Gomez. I thought both of them were superb yesterday. You can make arguments for several other players as well, but for the purpose of cutting this podcast short, I'm just going to go double Gomez.
Yeah. And Eddie, I'll come to you last but not least.
I put on Twitter a little review of the game yesterday, Instagram. Yeah, I went for Andre. I thought he was incredible yesterday. Just so cool, so composed on the ball. Just him. I love watching him and João Gomez. They just don't shirk a tackle, those two. They're just in and amongst, just little bulldogs. Just so good at winning the ball back. So good at being in the right position. He's a quality player. I mean, you can see why Fosun snapped him up for 20 million. I mean, that's the sort of their strategy, isn't it? They want to buy the 20 million players and sell them for 50 a couple of years later. And we could talk about that, but he was brilliant yesterday. And Rodrigo Gomez, and João Gomez, fantastic. And just there was a fan sitting behind me who was giving. I'll mention as well. I'll just mention Guedes. I know that he was wasteful. I know he could have scored one or two himself. But I'll say that I thought he was very good yesterday as well. I thought he was linked up really well with Rodrigo, played a lot of well-weighted balls, and he gave it his all. He'll only give 70 minutes a game. There is something, he doesn't have that fitness, does he, to go the 90? And there was a fan behind me who was giving him absolute pelters when he went off. Because when he went off, he didn't applaud the travelling fans. But I didn't see that for me. I thought he was brilliant yesterday. But I gave it Andre. And just to mention as well, Rodrigo Gomez. I mean, after all the fans went back into the tunnel, he came out. You know, he gave it the three fist bumps to the crowd again, and he came and he wanted to come and kiss his girlfriend, and he jumped into the stand. He came in because you don't blame him if you've seen it. Wanted to kiss his girlfriend, and then stayed. You know, was there a few minutes. You know, chatting with the fans, hugging with the fans, taking photos, and then he ran off again. And he was the last Wolves player on the pitch, and you know, big smile on his face the whole time. And that's what we want to see. We want to see players that are happy to be here, they're excited to play football, that love this club. And
I don't think there's many blokes that you know.
But Thomas Charles, I think, has been in her Insta. Andre for me, but with just a hair over a brilliant João Gomez, a brilliant Rodrigo Gomez, and a very good Guedes performance as well.
Perfect. I love that. That's a great way to wrap it up, Eddie. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever we're live right now. Don't forget to hit us up on the socials. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Blue Sky a bit more actively now. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, make sure you've got the bell rang so you get every update as it comes out. I appreciate everyone who's been here. This was the Wolves Fancast review show of Bristol City away, third round of the FA Cup, brought to you by the Sports Social Podcast Network and FCquiz.app. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for joining in, and peace. Bye, Wolves fans.